Okay.
Listen.
Namaste, Ayubowan. We are once again in our webinar mode. The Indo-Sri Lanka Chamber of Commerce and Industry presents you our this edition of webinar, which is an overview of tourism industry in Sri Lanka. My name is Naresh Bana, and I am the Vice Chairperson of Indo-Sri Lanka Chamber of Commerce and Industry. It's a great honor for me to moderate this webinar along with my colleague, Dr. Sarath Obesekara, who is the Vice President, and he takes care of Chamber operations in Sri Lanka. The duration of this webinar is 60 minutes and it's being recorded. It would be made available to you online subsequently. The raising of hands, question asking, and chat function is activated for the webinar. Please use as per functionality of each provision. Questions from delegates are very welcome. We'll try to answer them during the webinar, that is at the end of it. And should that not be possible, we'll give replies in writing later. The sequence of events will be like this, that we will present each speaker ahead of the respective thematic presentation. After presentation, there will be time for, that is after the presentation by all, there will be time for live question and answers. Please use question mark sign on your screen for sending your questions. Our first speaker is our co-chairman, Lieutenant General Rakesh Kumar Lumba. He's a very senior general from the Indian Army, and he has tenated some of the most critical and important assignments while in service. And he has been active with the chamber right from its, he's one of the founders and active with the chamber right from its beginning. Over to Lieutenant General Rakesh Kumar Lumba, PBSM, ABSM. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As one of the founding members of the Indo-Sri Lankan Chambers of Commerce and Industry, it is my proud privilege to welcome you all to the webinar today. This is in a series of webinars, this is the third webinar. I therefore welcome our esteemed speakers and guests also, namely Mrs. Upeka Smaratunga. She is the Minister Commercial at the High Commission of Sri Lanka to India. Dr. G. Kamala Vardhana Rao, IAS, who is the Chairman and Managing Director of ITDC. Mr. Dushan Vikramasuriya, Director Marketing, Sri Lanka Tourism Promotion Bureau. Mr. Doring, who is a proponent of nautical tourism. And Mr. Amir Ali, Executive Director of Sri Lankan Airlines. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you and to express my gratitude to you for having taken time from your very valuable schedule to be able to attend this webinar, and as far as the esteemed speakers are concerned, to be able to educate us on the various nuances of tourism industry in Sri Lanka. As you know, the Indo-Sri Lankan Chambers of Commerce and Industry.
Can you hear me?
Dr. Sarath, please mute yourself.
Okay, done.
Okay, sorry for this interruption. You know, the Chambers of Commerce and Industry was conceived as a bespoke institution to fill a very critical void, thereby giving a fillip to commercial and industrial activity. This assumes immense importance today as we are coming out of the worldwide COVID-19 pandemic. This webinar is therefore designed to give a boost to the tourism industry in Sri Lanka and inter alia to the tourism industry in India. As you're all aware, much has changed in the world. Much has changed in both our countries. Therefore, this webinar, which gives us an overview of tourism industry in Sri Lanka, will enable entrepreneurs, will enable tourists to prepare for tourism in post-COVID Sri Lanka. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and once again, my gratitude for taking your valuable time off. Over to you, Naresh. Naresh, can you hear me?
I'm sorry, I was muted. And Dr. Sarath, I will continue this and let introduce our keynote speaker, Dr.
Yeah, I can hear you.
IS.
Can you hear me?
Dr. Rao. Yes. Dr. Rao is the Chairman and MD of India Tourism Development Corporation. He is a senior officer of the Indian Administrative Service with more than 30 years of diverse experience at key positions in the government. He is one who is very passionate about tourism and is currently heading this important organization, public sector. Those who are possibly there is some sound coming, some disturbance somewhere. Delegates, as Secretary Tourism, he was instrumental in achieving an incremental increase in international footfalls, particularly from Europe and UK, as well as developing the luxury travel prospects in the state. He has been a champion of last mile connectivity in a vast country. Mr. Rao believes in development destinations. Worth mentioning here is his vision and commitment to developing a youthful and skilled workforce for the tourism and hospitality sector, for which he has launched a new initiative in the post-COVID scenario in the company he heads today. He has also served as Secretary Revenue and Principal Secretary Public Works Department, Government of Kerala, and as Chairman of India Tobacco Board, Government of India. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Naresh Banu, and I thank Indo-Sri Lankan Chamber of Commerce for giving me this opportunity to participate in today's webinar. And it is definitely a significant webinar as far as Indo-Sri Lankan relations are concerned, as far as Indo-Sri Lankan tourism relations are concerned. Yes. Now we will talk about the relationship between India and Sri Lanka. I think it is Sri Lanka India never considered as a different country, because it is maybe perhaps the only geographical location, the landscape which forms part of Indian mythology. In Ramayana, Sri Lanka is only land which is named there, and the first perhaps the first tourist who visited Sri Lanka, maybe Lord Hanuman, and later Lord Rama visited there. So we have a mythological connection with Sri Lanka. Later, yes, thanks to King Ashoka, who has sent his children, Sangamitra and Mahendra, to spread Buddhism there, and the Buddhist thing also well known to everybody here in the panel. Then later yes, we have always been very actively involved, being a member of the SAG, being a member of BIMSTEC, being a member of SASEC, that is the South Asian sub-regional economic cooperation, being the members. We have organized International Buddhist Conclave in 2018 in Delhi, where 13 delegates from Sri Lanka have participated here, and also the President of Sri Lanka and the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, Maithripala Sirisena, Ranil Wickremesinghe. In 2015 and 16, they have visited. They made 5 visits to to India to participate in Simhastha Kumbha Mela in Ujjain, and they visited Sanchi. And there was a BRICS and BIMSTEC Outreach Summit in Goa, where the high-level delegations have participated. This is only to show that that how well we have been continuing our cooperation, our relationship at the political level and the diplomatic level. There was a summit which was where our speaker of Lok Sabha, Sumitra Mahajan, held the South Parliamentarians Summit was held, and our Foreign External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj participated, and we signed an MOU with the Sri Lankan government in IT and electronics by our Honorable Minister Shankar Krishna. If you come with a bilateral trade, just take 1 minute for that. The bilateral trade between India and Sri Lanka is $4.19 billion, out of which $3.49 million goes from India. And the development assistance from Indian government to Sri Lankan government is $3.545 billion. And if you take the line of credit, it is also $318 million. Then we have signed, the Indian government has signed a cultural cooperation agreement in 1977 itself. From there onwards, we have continued our relationship to strengthen this ICC in Colombo, which promotes Indian music, dance, and Hindi and yoga. Of course, yoga now, thanks to the efforts of Honorable Prime Minister India Narendra Modi ji, yoga has become internationally so popular, and we have been promoting in relationship with each and every country, particularly our neighboring countries, and in that Sri Lanka. We have also been celebrating 150th birthday anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. If you talk about people-to-people contact, how exactly we are going to celebrate our people-to-people contact. Pilgrimage to Bodh Gaya was organized by the Sri Lankan Armed Forces, came in 2018 here, and we have reciprocated their 55-member delegation from Mahabodhi Society visited Buddhist sites in Sri Lanka, and their Honorable Prime Minister also with this initiative leading their flight from Varanasi. Besides this, when we talk about the tourists, it has been increasing. Yes, the number of tourists has been increasing. In 2015, it was 2,99,000 from India to Sri Lanka. Now it has gone to 3,33,000. Similarly, from Sri Lanka to India, 3,16,000 was 2015, which has gone to 4 lakh. Then, what are the areas where we can certainly cooperate and work further? Is the cruise tourism is very important. Many Europeans and Chinese and Vietnamese tourists, they keep coming to Sri Lanka for Ayurvedic products, for this, for beach tourism and other important tourist activities. If there is a potential for us to have a triangular relationship between India, Maldives, and Sri Lanka on cruise tourism. In fact, when I was Secretary Kerala Tourism, I initiated this. I discussed with the Tourism Minister of Sri Lanka and also the embassy in Indian embassies in Maldives. So all the cruises which go from Colombo, they can go to Kochi, Trivandrum. From there they go to Maldives, and again this circle can consider. They can go up to Mumbai. In fact, they can go to Mumbai, and from Mumbai they can go to Maldives. So cruise tourism is a wonderful opportunity for us, because the Chinese and the Japanese and the Koreans, who are known for their travel history, they certainly would like to see the nearby places when they come all the way to Colombo. There's so many similarities. Another important point is the spice route. In the spice route, you know very well, the many Europeans, they came in the middle of 14th and 15th centuries. They used to give gold to the Kerala government, the Kerala kings, and they take pepper. So pepper is something common. Spices is something common to both Sri Lanka, Kerala, and India. So together you can promote this spice route. And similarly, Ayurveda. I've seen how potentially Ayurveda was being promoted in ITB Berlin and WTM London, both by Sri Lankan government as well as India. So in case we combinedly do together, it will be a great service to the wellness tourism in the world. Then one thing I've noticed when I was Secretary Tourism Kerala, that many of the Sri Lankan businessmen, even the middle class and upper middle class people, they come to visit India for shopping. purchasing saris and purchasing gold. So, gold is very popular in southern part of India. Many Sri Lankans come there for this. And Indian tourists also, South Indian, particularly South Indian tourists from Chennai, Karnataka, then Telangana and Kerala, they visit Colombo for various other areas of tourism. So besides this, in training skill development, there is a great potential for cooperation between India and Sri Lanka. So in tourism, we have hotel management institutes. There are 46 functional institutes, 21 are central and 25 the state governments. We can think about some synergies in the skill development on the tourism sector. So these are the few points which I wanted to share with you, and I thank Mr. Naresh Bano for giving me this opportunity, and look forward for an excellent progress in the tourism tourist relations between India and Sri Lanka, particularly in the pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rao. Thank you very much for your insight. And now we move on to the next panelist. Dr. Sarath, would you like to introduce
Yes.
Dushan?
Can you hear me, gentlemen?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Sarath, we can hear you.
Go ahead. I think there is some connectivity issue. We are not able to hear him. Okay.
Naresh, please take on.
Yeah. Dr. Sarath, you can mute yourself. We are not able to hear you. And let me move to the next panelist. That is Mr. Dushan Vikram Surya. Mr. Dushan
Naresh,
Vikram
please
Surya.
introduce him. I have a problem with the sound.
Yeah, I'll start.
Okay.
Ayubowan. Namaste. On behalf of Sri Lanka Tourism, I'd like to thank Indo-Sri Lanka Chamber of Commerce and Industry for organizing this webinar. I think it's great to have this webinar to be connected with industry stakeholders and consumers at a time the entire world is going through a rough patch. Of course, the current pandemic has not changed the hospitality of Sri Lankans, the current product offerings or services, or the unique characteristics of this beautiful island nation. Tourism is an important segment for us, and the contribution accounts for about 4 to 5% of GDP. The highest turnover for Sri Lanka, tourism turnover, was recorded in 2018, which was 2.3 million, and the revenue that was generated in that year was USD 4.3 billion. So and also another important thing is the livelihood of many Sri Lankans. Over the millions of Sri Lankans, approximately 3 million Sri Lankans are dependent on this industry, and that's why it's so important for us. Of course, the corona situation has had a very negative rippling effect on the entire tourism economy, not just in Sri Lanka but in the world. But Sri Lanka being strong and resilient, the government of Sri Lanka has decided to open the country open the airports for international travel from 21st of January this year. Of course, the airports were open right throughout for charter operations, but 2 airports will be opened. Were opened this year. That's the one in Mattala, which is down south, and also the one in Katunayaka, which is within close proximity to Colombo. So one of the key things to note when the airport is opened is that there is any visitor coming to Sri Lanka has no mandatory quarantine requirements. So you can stay any number of days, any minimum number of days or maximum number of days. Of course, all foreign passport holders have to stay in a level 1 hotel in Sri Lanka. So what does this level 1 mean? Level 1 is a safe and secure certified hotel. So what that means is 2 international bodies, KPMG and Ernst & Young, have ensured hotels, the certified hotels comply with all the WHO health protocols and all the guidelines stipulated by the health authorities of Sri Lanka. So any tourist will have to stay for a maximum period of 14 days in a level 1 hotel, and you can move from one level 1 hotel to another. But before you go into the community, you have to stay in a level 1 hotel. And while you're staying in a level 1 hotel, you can also visit tourist attractions in a travel bubble. And there are about 20 sites approved by our health authorities. I mean, all the national parks are open, comes under the travel bubble. Most of the um, cultural sites and outdoor activities. And for the Indian tourists, the casinos, even the casinos will be open, and shopping will be allowed under this concept. So what is required in terms of PCR tests? One has to do, or any tourist have to do a PCR test 96 hours before you board the aircraft. Now, some of the airlines request for 72, but we have said 96 hours. And once you arrive in Sri Lanka, you have to do a PCR test at the hotel, in the certified hotel. And so if you're staying for less than 5 days, you have to do only one PCR test. And if you're staying for longer than that, 5 to 7 days, then you have to do another one, which is second PCR test. Generally, Indians travel from their travel varies between 3 to 9 days. So and then if you're going to the community after 14 days, you have to do the third one. So it's a maximum of 3 PCR tests if you're staying for longer than 14 days. And depending on your stay, you pay for the PCR test, which is $40 at the moment. So in addition to the PCR test, you have to take an insurance cover before you come to Sri Lanka. Now, some of the travelers might have insurance cover, travel insurance, but in addition to that, you have to take a health COVID-19 insurance cover in Sri Lanka, which will cost $12, give you 1 month cover, and for a 1 month period, to a total, the total cover is $50,000, and that's very important because it covers everything: the ambulance, the hospital charges, and the unfortunate incident of a death. Sending the body back. I mean, all that is covered under this insurance cover, and a lot of people have commended this because it's important that to ensure the safety of all the travelers. And then the other one is the visa procedure. So some might have issues with visa procedures. So what you do is you have to apply it online on the ETA. And once you apply, there's a point where you will have to put in hotel details. So in that instance, you need to select your hotel, which is on our website. There are about 200 hotels which you can select from. So once you pay for the hotel, for the number of days you're staying, and you pay for the PCR based number of PCR tests will depend on the number of days you're staying, and also you have to pay the $12 insurance fee, plus the visa fee. For Indian travelers, it's $20. So unfortunately, in the initial stage, all these have to be paid before you come into Sri Lanka. So once you do that, you're okay, and all those details, the airline, the hotel you're staying at, or the travel agent or the guide will be able to assist, giving that information to us, and then we will approve the visa on the ETA system through immigration. So it's not only the hotels, even the tour guides, the travel agents all have to comply to these health regulations, which is a certification, and they go. So, and also another thing I have to highlight is once you're in the level 1 hotel, you can use all the facilities in the hotel. You can use the bar area, you can use the pool, and if it's in the coastal line, you can even use the beach. The beach will be demarcated for guests in the hotel. But of course, you will not have the opportunity to mingle with the locals until you complete the first 14 days. So you will have a holiday to visit all the tourist attractions. But of course, it will, for the first 14 days, you will be in the hotel, and you will go on visit the attractions in a travel bubble. So if you talk about the Indian market, India is the main source market for Sri Lanka, and of course for Indians, I think it's the best short haul destination for holidaying. Over the last 3 years, we have seen year-on-year growth in tourist arrivals to Sri Lanka. The highest was recorded in 2018, pre-COVID, which was 424,000, and which is about approximately about 18% of the total arrivals to Sri Lanka. So it's a big number, and that's why this market is so important for us. It's not only the proximity, it's not only only the bilateral relations, but it's the close link we have had over the years, and that's why we need to work together to grow this market. Of course, it's not only Indians who have Indian travelers who have come to Sri Lanka, as pointed out before. There have been many Sri Lankans who have visited Sri Lanka. The most recent I've got is issued by a communique issued by the Sri Lanka, by the Indian High Commission in Sri Lanka, which has stated that in 2019, 107,000 tourist visas were issued to Sri Lankans, and 14,500 business visas have been issued to Sri Lankans. And generally, we have seen, talking to the industry, tourism, in the tour operators and the hoteliers, and the statistics we have seen Indians visiting Sri Lanka for many reasons. For MICE, which is popular, it's including weddings, leisure, entertainment. Casinos are very popular. Sri Lankan casinos are very popular amongst the Indian travelers. We have seen youth tours for cricket, for golf, and of course pilgrims such as the Ramayana Trail and other Buddhist related pilgrims. Now, if you talk about connectivity, pre-COVID, we have had very good connectivity, about 150 flights per week. Air India, Indigo, SpiceJet, they all flew to Sri Lanka. They had direct connectivity, but in this year, our connectivity has been an issue, and we are waiting to sign the air bubble agreement with India so that we have good connections. And at the moment, Sri Lankan Airlines operates between Bombay and Chennai, but they are all charter operations. But once the agreement is signed, Sri Lankan Airlines have advised. Oh, sorry, I mean there is a representative from Sri Lanka, so Sri Lankan Airlines it will touch base on that. But I think Vistara also has indicated that they will fly into Sri Lanka direct from India. And what are the if you talk about the popular destinations for locations for Indians within Sri Lanka, it's mainly Colombo, Kandy, Nuwara and Bentota. Bentota is also down south. It is popular for safaris, boatings, scuba diving. So a lot of Indians get involved in these activities, and the period they stay from 3 to 7 days. If you talk about niche segments, which is very important for us, and we want to actively promote these niche segments in the Indian market, is the Ramayana Trail, which Ramayana sites are located throughout Sri Lanka. There are about the most popular ones are in the main cities, the main districts, and it's about 20 to 25. But some do cover 30 to 35 sites, which are authentic and which has a lot of hiking to do, and a lot of young Indian travelers have gone into these authentic Ramayana trails. MICE for corporate events and also weddings. We have very beautiful wedding settings in Sri Lanka, and there have many Indian weddings which have taken place. Some of the hotels, 5-star hotels in Colombo and down south, can cater for about 1,000 to 1,200 packs. Of course, at this point in time, they cater only for 30%. The health authorities have not given the okay to have run them at full capacity. Then for corporate events and weddings, we have BMICH, which has about 1,500 capacity, which is within close proximity to all the 5-star hotels in Colombo. And recently, Sri Lankan Airlines collaborated with BMICH to offer very competitive fares and unique personalized packages for corporate events. Then there's film tourism. We have had about 15 Indian films shot on location in Sri Lanka. So internationally, we have had so many. But from India, we had about 15. And what's important here is we facilitate all the Sri Lanka tourism in collaboration with the National Film Corporation, facilitates all the approvals from different line agencies because it's getting approval is not easy in many countries, and so we have like a one-stop shop where you come in and we get the approvals and you can continue with your production. Of course, we have the technical capacity as well for that, and so well equipped to promote that segment actively. Then sports and tourism, golf tours, cricket tours, which we need to actively get involved in, and like the previous speaker mentioned, cruise tourism and also Ayurveda is something we can collaborate and promote actively in both countries. In terms of promotions, we have had media fairs, trade fairs. We have participated in travel fairs in the past. Of course, now going forward, I don't see that as a viable option, and most of the fairs are on a virtual platform. So we need to see how that works out in the coming months. And we have advertised in magazines, key Indian magazines. We have collaborated with MasterCard, and also going forward, we are planning on appointing a destination representation company in India. So in terms of investments, I will touch very briefly on the investments as well. There are a lot of opportunities for Sri Lanka, for Indians to invest in Sri Lanka. It could be just on hotel development projects, or it could be other associated projects such as developing theme parks and adventure related activities. So that option is there. SLTDA, which is the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority, the regulatory body of tourism, has so many areas in relation to investments. They also own land. If you talk about land, Kalpite, which is in the Western Province, these are all islands. Western Province is popular for whale watching, for kite surfing. They have, at the moment, they have about 4 islands available for long-term lease. Kuchaveli, which is in the Eastern Province, they have about 200-acre plots available to build resorts. In addition to that, there are other regional secretariats and government bodies which own land and which can be negotiated and which can be arranged through our regulatory arm, the SLTDA. In 2020, SLTDA had about 42 projects with a total value of approximately 700 million US dollars, and also that those projects included building of over 1,000 rooms throughout Sri Lanka. And also another area is the investor relations unit. So all these investments are coordinated through the investor relations unit of SLTDA, which is a one-stop unit. So any investor does not have to go to different areas, different line agencies to get approvals. They can come directly to Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority. They can work with the team and then tell you what your investment, sort of investment you want to get involved in, and they will help not only to find investment but also to get the relevant agencies, relevant line agency approvals. So I think in closing, once again, I'd like to thank the organizers, and also I want to request your families to visit Sri Lanka, explore Sri Lanka, and also tell your customers to explore the beauty of Sri Lanka. And then now I'd like to request a video to be played, just to give you a feel for what Sri Lanka is all about.
Just a minute. Video is ready. Okay. Share screen. Actually. Last minute glitch. Just a minute. This video is very heavy, sometimes gets stuck. It's a wonderful video. I've seen it, and I don't know why it's unable. I am not able to share. Okay. Gentlemen, there is some technical glitch which is visible, but I just tried it. It's not working out. Hold on. Let me try one last time. We have time. We are not running short of time. Okay.
Maybe all of us can go to Sri Lanka and see it live rather than.
That's a great gesture on your part, sir. And let's. Okay. Now, if the video comes in, I will interrupt then. But we move on to the next speaker, Dr. Doring. And let me introduce him. Dr. Doring is in Sri Lanka since 1989, pioneering sports tourism, initiating cross and intercultural sports exchange programs, and he is originally from Germany. He's a strong proponent of nautical tourism, among other tourism options in Sri Lanka. And now I'll hand over the control to you, Dr. Doring. You may start your presentation. You have to unmute yourself. Yeah. There is a background noise with you.
You're still muted, Dr. Doring. Please
Dr.
unmute
Doring?
yourself.
You have to unmute yourself. Dr. Doring? We can't hear you. Yeah, we can see your screen, but
Naresh, can you centrally unmute him, please?
okay, let me just see that. Doring is unmuted.
Now it's okay. Now I have been unmuted. Okay. So you can hear me? All of you can hear me now? Okay.
Yeah.
So let me send my greetings from Sri Lanka to all the panelists here today, and thank you for having been invited by the ISCCI. My part would be to focus a little bit on research work, what my research institute has done in the last 15 years. We are doing research in collaboration with German universities and with the Colombo Wing University here in Sri Lanka. The chart, what you see here now, I hope that you can all see that, is one of our researches, what we have done, and it shows the annual tourist arrivals in Asian countries. And we have highlighted that a little bit. You can see on your left side, I think the gentleman from the Sri Lanka Tourist Development Board mentioned a figure before COVID, and I'm referring also these figures all related to before COVID time. There you see that Sri Lanka, that is a WKO statistics from 2018. The data says approximately 2 million rupees, 2 million visitors in that particular period. In comparison to other countries in the neighborhood, we have not included India in that, sorry about. But you can see, for example, Laos has 3 million, Malaysia and Thailand far exceeding Malaysia is in the meantime also in the range of 30 million, and Philippines with nearly 6 million. And Vietnam, very interestingly, Vietnam shows 10 million annual arrivals, and Vietnam and Sri Lanka has a lot in common. And we can go to the next slide. You see here the challenge, we have called it, the comparison between Vietnam and Sri Lanka. Now, what has both countries have in common history of violence and war. The civil conflict, what we had in Sri Lanka, but a far more devastating war in Vietnam with the terrible impacts on their environment and nature due to the heavy bombings, what the United States did by dropping down Agent Orange bombs, which contained dioxin and polluted the forest and all that. However, when you see the comparison, then it is almost 5 times of these annual arrivals what Vietnam has achieved. And one may ask, how comes that Vietnam is so much more performing better than Sri Lanka? Compare both countries to each other, and that was nicely highlighted by the Sri Lanka Tourist Development Board gentleman who in fact said exactly the tremendous sightseeing points and attractive points for tourism, what you see here in Sri Lanka. So someone must wonder, how comes that Sri Lanka in all these years is not able to achieve 4 million or 5 million tourists? Coming to that point in the next slide, everything has a reason. One reason, what we have found is that the marketing budget for the tourist development in Sri Lanka compared to Vietnam is fairly low. You can see on the left side, that is also referring to statistics in 2018. Simply 800,000 US dollars had been provided by the government to promote tourism, while Vietnam government has given 10 million US dollars. So in fact, the budget plays a major role to promote tourism. For Sri Lanka, it's very important.
Oh.
Coming to the next point is another misconcept what we have found with regard to Sri Lanka's underperforming. Sri Lanka is promoted virtually on the basis of a 6-month season. You have a 6 months off season and a 6-month season, the east and in the west due to the monsoon activities. But when someone really identifies the impact of the nature, it is not justified to declare 6-month off season in Sri Lanka. Still the country can be visited. Inside the country, no problems at all. And you have a little stronger winds on the coastlines. So this off-season concept is, I think, totally unjustified. But there are people who are benefiting, there are companies and there are institutions, and we have found that the foreign operators are highly benefited by this concept, since in off-season they can bargain room rates and everything, and they can ask the Sri Lanka tourism industry to give them great discounts during the off-season period. The deprived sector is once and again the Sri Lanka hospitality sector. One example, in the East Coast, you have beautiful hotels in Pasekuda, but if you go there in their off-season period, you will have an occupancy in the range between 3 to 10% maximum. I'm not talking about COVID times, I'm talking about pre-COVID times. So now it comes to the proposal, and Dr. Obesekera, he asked me to talk about nautical tourism. Nautical tourism is no niche market. However, in Sri Lanka, with all the efforts, what Dr. Obesekera and our team of experts has done, we have tried to promote this nautical tourism. We have not got a great feedback from the relevant authorities. To baseline the facts, Sri Lanka has a beautiful 1,300 kilometer coastline. It's really very beautiful, it's untouched, and it could be explored for the purpose of nautical tourism. And we have a country in Europe, there nautical tourism is very well maintained and developed. I have taken the example of Croatia. Croatia has a 650 kilometer coastline, and every 10 kilometers, you can find a marina there. This small country, Croatia, generates an annual gross income of approximately 300 million US dollars alone from nautical tourism. Nautical tourism is not comparable with surfing and other sorts of water sports. Nautical tourism is something where you can attract let's say the 1% market, these people who are the super rich, who have yachts, motor yachts, or sailing yachts. So this market is not touched by Sri Lanka, surprisingly, though Sri Lanka has all the benefits of a positive environment. Here we have an example. We are trying, and thanks to the gentleman from the Sri Lanka Tourism Board, you give a very interesting and very positive hint regarding approval lines. We might come to you with a consortium of a development company to do a project proposal to you with regard to a mixed development combined with a marina here in Maravilla in the northwestern province, and we might come in due time to you. When we think of marinas, we cannot simply focus on a single marina in one place. Actually, you have to have a network around the island, so that makes it attractive for boat owners and yacht owners to travel around. One day they will harbor their boat in another place and they can travel around. All these marinas must be supported by mixed developments, luxury apartments, restaurants, and all that what the 1% elite require in other countries. And there are many other opportunities. You can arrange a public transport by boat, and it creates a lot of probable employment. You have to have docks, dry docks. What Dr. Obesekera's main domain is to maintain the boats that can give employment to young people in the area, and you can make it more attractive to foreigners to come here and stay longer than once they have their boats parked in the Marina Bay. They are looking for permanent foreign residence visa, so the Sri Lanka can generate an additional income. I think that's it, gentlemen. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Doring. Thank you very much for such an interesting presentation. And before I move to the next panelist, I would give another try to the video which we could not play after.
I couldn't get the whole thing.
Yeah, we are going to play the video, Dr. Sarath. We are going to try and play the video again. Okay.
Naresh, I have a problem here. You continue.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you?
Yeah, we can hear you. You just stay there. We will try and play the video, which is balance, which is not yet played. Oh, it's. There is some problem, I think, in this video. Okay, so while this problem will have to be resolved later, let me take you to the next panelist. that is Mr. Amir Ali, the Executive Director of Sri Lankan Airlines. And no more introduction is needed. Over to you, Mr. Amir.
Thank you, Mr. Naresh, and good morning to everyone. And special thanks to Mr. Naresh and all the respected panelists who has given me the opportunity to be part of this webinar. I know everyone is going through with the bad phase, and travel and tourism industry is one of the main area which got affected quite a lot due to this COVID. That's what all international travels got stopped. And but we are trying our best, and everybody is trying their best to overcome with this situation. And apart from that, we are also expecting the air bubble approval. And once this air bubble approval will get approved, yes, of course, we can expect some travel movement to Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is anyways is one of the best country and touristic destination where people normally keep going to for the sightseeing, for the beaches, for the casinos, for the shopping, and shopping is main for this particular in Sri Lanka. Moving ahead, in fact, we are anyways, as I said, that we are looking for all the best possible options and approvals for this air bubble to come, and when it will come, anyways, we are having quite a lot of queries as well, so we may expect some movement immediately will start when this air bubble will come. Apart from that, as of now, anyways, I believe Mr. Dushan, he has already completed and covered everything from the tourism side, and is of course nothing much to say, because anyways we are only operating Delhi, Bombay and Chennai are the only cargo flights which are operating as of now, depending upon the requirement. So this is it from my side, from Sri Lankan Airlines side, on behalf of Sri Lankan Airlines. And I'd like to request Mr. Naresh Bana, in case if there is a 2 minutes video which I'd like to share with you all, and I'd like to request Mr. Bana if you can just play it from his end if possible. And once again, thank you to everyone.
Okay. So let me just see whether we can play this one. This is supposed to be lighter version, and there should not be an issue. Okay. Please mute yourself, whosoever is. I'm unable to share the screen with the video. There is some issue. It's playing otherwise. In the rehearsal also we had it, but there is some problem today. Is it? It's a beautiful video. No.
We can see it on full screen, Naresh.
Hmm?
You can see it on full screen, Naresh.
Are you able to see anything?
We were able to. Play it again.
You were
please.
able to?
Yeah, play it again, please.
Okay.
Welcome to Sri Lankan Airlines, where the world is yours to explore.
It's game.
See it?
Where new
It's playing.
beginnings are familiar and family happens at home. Where every interlude is an experience. And your senses ignite. Well, welcome is much more than a word. And you never really check out of the adventure. Surprising, vibrant, timeless. This is where flavor means fireworks. And paradise is infused into everything we share with you. Where care is inherent and memories begin. This is where business means pleasure. And warmth is instant. Where sleep means absolute serenity, and waking up to tea time is an indulgence. This is where the world comes home. Thank you for flying Sri Lankan Airlines. You're a world.
That's it. So finally,
Thank you, Mr.
we
Naresh.
were able to play that. Okay. So,
Can I try
gentlemen,
the other video also?
sorry for that. Should we
Try
try
the
the
other
next
video
one,
also.
the last one?
Yeah.
Okay, let me see. We have time.
Yeah, you remember Mr. Tushan Vikramasuriya's video could not be played. Try it again.
Actually, that is coming online from a online repository, and this one was loaded in my system. So possibly that's where we are, I think, stuck.
Can you give the control to Tushan? Then maybe he can play it.
Yeah, I think you can try that, Mr. Dushan. I will hand over the control to you, and possibly that you can try from there. Yeah. Please try from your end, so that in case you would have in
It's
your
not on my
system.
computer. I need to, which I sent you.
See, it's a link which has come. It is
because
stored.
I need
I'm
to
not able to
download it then once again.
It came through a sharing website, and somehow that is not played up adequately. So in the meantime, I request delegates to shoot their questions. Till now, we have no questions. We have still few minutes to go. So if there are any questions, please.
Yeah, please try from your end. I have it's on a different computer, so that's why I'm not able to.
No problems. We will send it to the delegates and to all of
Yes.
you on the email and as a follow-up. And I think it was a wonderful webinar. And though there were some technical glitches, but I think we would be able to achieve quite a bit as far as the interaction and outreach is concerned. And I'm sure and hopeful that the tour and travel industry of Sri Lanka would be the net beneficiary of this entire webinar and the interaction. Before I end, I would once again request Jan Lumba to give his concluding remarks. Unmute yourself, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, and our very honored panelists, thank you ever so much for having taken your time out. Now, this is tourism is one niche area which is evoking a lot of interest because people have been stifled up in their homes for too long. And I'm glad that with the kind of push which is being given by all of the panelists present here, new normal will translate into added tourism for Sri Lanka. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you all the panelists. Thank you very much for taking your time out. Very grateful to you.
Thank you.
Very grateful.
Thank you. Namaste. Ayubowan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.